The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, welcome to our Driven CRM Advanced Sales Management Training webinar today. Today we'll be discussing some of the advanced sales features of Driven, such as our sales pipeline, importing of leads into our leads area, using custom fields in the quotes and sales order screen, and the ability to control pricing through price levels, account discounts, and marketing campaigns. So the ability to lock certain individuals out of modifying prices within the Driven software on orders. So for today's session, as with all of our webinars, it is a listen-only type of a situation, but you are free to type in questions over in the question webinar panel. If you type those, I'll try to pause periodically and answer as many of those as I can. Now, today when we've logged in, I have my basic setup as if I'm a new user. I do not have any workspaces created. So since we're going to be talking about and configuring the sales pipeline first, let's go ahead and create a workspace for that sales pipeline. So under my new in the upper left-hand corner in the blue bar in my Driven screen, I'm going to create a pipeline workspace. And we'll make it a one-panel workspace. When I save that, when I configure this panel, as long as I have the sales role assigned to me, I'm going to go to my items first, and let's do my sales pipeline. Okay, and we'll finish that one. Now that will show me I am an executive level role employee, so I get to see this graph of how many particular pipeline entries I have in here right now. Right now, I have one that is assigned to the possible but not likely potential setting. And so my sales potential for that particular one is $25,000. Now all this is showing me is my graph here. So actually I'm going to reconfigure this panel, and I want to make it a two-panel so that I can see my graph in the top, and we'll put the details down into the bottom. Back in my items again, I should have an actual my sales pipeline, not the graph one, but all the details of the pipeline that are assigned to me here. Let's finish that. And so now I can see the detail of that particular pipeline entry. And a sales pipeline within Driven is used for sales forecasting type of functions. As we see here, I have things tied to what we call a close factor, how likely I am to win that business. Right now, I'm projecting that I'm not likely to win about $25,000 worth of business. And I can update that, and as my potential increases, my close factor goes higher, my likelihood to close that should increase. So my graph should change for me into a different close factor number. Now, in order to get a pipeline created, begin using the pipeline and add additional entries here, that is going to be done from the Create New menu, and I'm going to choose to create a new sales pipeline entry. And we'll talk about the different options that are available within a sales pipeline. So the first thing that I am required to do is link this to, it says customer, but it has to be linked to an account. Okay. So sales pipeline entries cannot be linked to leads in the Driven CRM software. That lead has to be promoted if you're going to be creating a pipeline entry for that individual. So here I see the list of everyone who's in my database as an account, both my customers and my prospects, and any other categories that I had assigned individuals to. So let's go ahead and work with Mickey Mouse today from Disney World. So we'll choose him, and now I see the details of my pipeline information, what kinds of details I can update and track. So my first is my phase, or where am I in that sales pipeline process. Again, this is the type of drop-down box where if you have the access and the capabilities, you can modify this list and be able to make this custom to your business process. Maybe you have different steps. It goes from a new to developing a proposal, doing a demo, scheduling an on-site visit, closing the call. Whatever steps in your sales process you want to define, you can add there in that phase drop down. I'm sorry, back up a step here. The phase is different than the current step. I was actually referring to our current step field when I was discussing that. But a phase might be a further way to group or classify this pipeline. Like I want to see all of my hot or high priority pipelines, and I want to see in a separate one all my 90-day to close type of pipelines. So you have the ability to group those as well by potentially how likely you are to close them or when you think you might close them. Different categories or groupings for you in that phase drop-down box there. We're going to make this one a new pipeline entry here for ours for Mickey Mouse. I assign a sales rep to that pipeline entry. This defaulted to me for one of two potential reasons. Either I am the sales rep assigned to that account, or there is no sales rep at all assigned to that account, so it defaulted to me because I am logged in. But that, again, can be overridden at any time. I want to give this to Jen. I can do that right away. The potential dollar amount field is how likely for a total do you think you're going to close this potential pipeline. I think I might do $20,000 worth of business with Disney World for this pipeline that I'm creating. So I would put the potential dollar amount at $20,000. I can link a sales pipeline to a marketing campaign if I want to associate it to that to see how this person found out about me again and what kinds of potential pipelines I have out there as a result of specific campaigns. Okay, so Mickey found out about me from the print ad in the Today Journal, and that's what prompted him to call us for this particular pipeline. And so I can link that to that individually here. Putting a pipeline in history or marking it inactive would mean that it's finished and closed out. So it's no longer an active, valid pipeline at the moment. Then I also have what I was mentioning before, that current step, or where in the sales process am I? I am at the lead generation step, or I'm at the presentation quotation step. I'm negotiating, I'm closing, and then when you put it in history, probably you're going to mark it as either won or lost. So you want to have those steps as well so you can identify how many pipelines you won versus what you lost and look at some of the notes and details in there. So here we'll say I'm at the door opener step. I put a description or a title onto the pipeline entry. This is going to give it a subject line or a way of referencing what this pipeline is for, because you can potentially have multiple pipeline entries for the same account. Maybe I'm working with Mickey on a new server, and I'm also have the potential to get the rest of his IT business all together. So I might create two pipeline entries for Mickey Mouse, one for the server and update it separately, and have a second one for his IT services potential business. So this one might be for the server. Now, you can identify some other information of competition and closing targets within this pipeline as well. However, it's not required to get it started. Maybe this is all the information that I have to begin with right away, because I am still at the door opener step. I haven't identified any of these other pieces of information yet. So I'm going to save changes there, and I'll refresh my main pipeline screen here. So that is now going to show up as a new pipeline entry. I have one for $20,000 that's set at a 0 close factor. I have no chance of closing that one right now. And now I still have my $25,000 potential entry that's possible but not likely. So my graph continues to update as I add and update pipeline entries down here. Now, to update that pipeline entry a little bit further, I've worked with Mickey Mouse some more. I've done some further qualification of him. I'm ready to move him on to a next step and add some more information. So speaking of which, I am able to see Mickey's information here. So let's go back and look at Mickey Mouse here from a different perspective. When I'm in his account here, I see down towards the bottom of his account that there's an open item for a sales pipeline entry for a server. So everyone who's looking at Mickey's account will see that there's some potential business going on with him for a sales pipeline entry. And they'd be able to visually see it there. All right, so it does show up in the account screen itself. Just wanted to show you guys and let you know that. Okay. But to update it, you would do that from the My Pipeline workspace. You're going to double-click on the Disney World option here and update the information. So I'm going to say now I'm at the presentation quotation step, and I've identified maybe some competition in this deal because Mickey mentioned that he's also looking at Tech Data or somebody else, and it might potentially be somebody else I need to be aware of when I'm making this quote. So you can identify competition in your environment specifically for this pipeline. Some general notes is just a reporting field here of notes that you're taking while you're working on this. Maybe you're updating statuses and doing things like that from within here. You can put some notes in here, ready for quote now. Maybe a note like that. And then let's update some closing targets here. So my target close date is when do I think I'm going to win this business or finish out this pipeline entry here. So hopefully I've won or lost it by the end of next month. So we'll put July 31st as the target close date here. My resistance is how unlikely do I think I am to win this business right now. No resistance means customer said, yep, I'm signing a check, I'm ready to go. There is no anything stopping them from doing business with you. Our next steps are minor, moderate, above normal, high, or extreme. I might set it to extreme if I've just started working with Mickey. He says, hey, I'm not even ready for a quote yet. I don't know if I want that. Hold on. And then I'd set my resistance a little higher. Hopefully that resistance number comes down as you get closer and closer to closing the deal and winning the business. Then you also have that closing confidence. This is what puts it into the different areas of the graph there of how likely I think I am to win this business. So I'm going to move this one on to the highly likely option now. And that's going to change where it shows up in my graph there. And then I have what we call customer criteria and their match level. These are, some people also refer to it as the hot buttons or the important things for Mickey in doing business with me potentially. What are his concerns? What would make him want to buy from me? And you have the ability to modify that list there. So maybe when we're adding this, let's add a couple in here so you see where they show up and what they look like. Maybe price is his highest concern. So we'll add that one to the list. And then availability. And then service. All right, so lots of different choices of what hot buttons or important things potential customers mention that might make them want to or not want to do business with you. So when I save that there, now I'm able to define that Mickey is concerned about price. And the option to the right of that is how well do you meet that price concern. Maybe you have a price match guarantee. So your price matching is absolute. I'll match anybody else's price. I've got the best prices around. I match really well when price is a concern in a pipeline here. Maybe your next one is, and we'll add that into that one too. So my next one is availability. And maybe I have to custom order everything, so maybe I'm about normal on that one. So the ability to add multiple concerns or criteria hot buttons is available for you there. You can add up to 3 there, and then you'd save that. Now, all of this is going to get updated now into my graphs as I refresh here. My screen comes back, and now I've got a highly likely to close pipeline entry here. So keeping in mind, our pipeline entry, as you see it here, is used for forecasting, sales projecting. It is not actually linked to an order itself. So it is strictly an outside tool that would be used for you guys and your potential people under you to be able to forecast future revenue. So in here, let's say I want to adjust my visible columns here because I want to look at the close date. I don't care when it was created. I do want to see when it was last updated. I want to see what the customer match criteria was for the first one and how well we match it, if there was any competition defined. So add a few more columns in here. I would be able to see and project out that based upon my close dates, okay, this one was supposed to close on 6/10. I can filter by close dates. I can sort this. I can report on this very easily. So a lot of features for you guys to be able to manage your salespeople and the potential revenue that might be coming in from them in the future. So you could have them add and update the pipeline entries, and then you can come see your reports and your graphs and pull all of that information, instead of you having to go to them on a weekly basis and ask them what they're doing, how much money they're going to be bringing in. So that is our sales pipeline tool. Next, let's talk about the ability to import leads into Driven. Because typically, as we walked through during our intro webinar, you have the ability to create a new lead individually on a one-on-one basis, new lead or new customers, all done through that Create New menu. However, if you have a mailing list that you've purchased or you've gone to a trade show or something like that, and you have an entire list of people that you need to get into Driven here, that is typically done most easily through a data import into our leads database. Okay, and we like to put them into there because that way you can work on all of them, dispatch them to sales reps, and be able to move them on in the process and qualify them. Okay. But there are options for you here as well of where you want to import things into. You do have, if you see over here, you must use the preferred XLS format. And here are some of the sample files that we need. You do have the capability to import directly into the customer prospect account area if you would like to. But today what we're going to work with is importing it into the leads area here. So we'll click on this lead import sample, and it will open for me, which opened on my second screen here. Hold on, guys. Let me pull it back over here for you. A sample of the format for our leads import. Okay. So very first thing, we have a classification for the lead. That's that category or that drop-down box that you see when you're first entering a new lead. Then you have whether or not what role they play. So that identifies in that entry screen as well their role. Who are they? Are they the sales contact, the accounts payable contact, the decision maker, the whatever? The sales territory. Okay. There's another field in here that, again, links to one of our drop-down boxes in Driven. Whether or not they're hot, meaning urgent, high priority kind of a lead. What market or industry they're in. What their actual title is. Their company name, last name, first name, middle initial. Their date of birth. Their address information, city, state, zip code. And I keep scrolling along here. Phone information, fax number, extension at that phone number, their cell number if you have one, their email addresses, provides for, during the default import, up to 2 email addresses. Now, additional ones can be added once they're into Driven already. Then we have their website address if they have one, a remark or a comment that goes into that status note update area, and then an overall general note about this particular lead. So you would need to have this in this proper format. This is the exact format, the column names, that Driven is going to be looking for this lead import in. Okay. So I'm going to actually save this because we're going to actually import these individuals here. So we're going to import Fred, Tom, and Harry Jennings. Okay. So we'll save this. I'm going to save it onto my desktop here somewhere where I can find it easily. And we'll call it just leads import. And we'll save that. Formatting is not allowed. Okay. So that is saved now. So now I go back to my Driven screen here. I was at that leads import screen, and I find my file that I'm going to be importing. So I locate that. I'm going to use my select button here. I'm going to go back to my desktop. I'm going to see there's my leads import file, and I choose to open that. Okay. And I choose now, I move on to the next step in the process. So this wizard walks you through the process. So in the upper left-hand corner is the next button. We press that. That goes through and gets my file ready. And it asks me where I want to import this into. Am I putting this in as a sales lead? Are they direct accounts and contacts? Are they vendors? Or is this inventory? So here are the 4 options of importing for you. So we're going to be a sales lead here. I'm going to choose the next step. It gives me a sample of the information that it found in that Excel spreadsheet. So it's looking here right now. Here is what the first 2-3 records of what your file looked like. So you can kind of match up and see, yes, this is where everything is supposed to be going. Okay, so I see my email address is there in the right place, website's in the right place, everything looks good. Okay, and I will choose the next button. Now, I have the ability to link these to an existing marketing campaign. Again, I mentioned this coming from a trade show or something like that. So I could link all of these as a promotion source to either one of my existing trade shows that's already in here. They came to me from the Tampa trade show. Or I can have Driven automatically create a new promotion. This was a trade show I had not entered as a marketing campaign yet, so I can have it create that. I put the name of the campaign I want it to create here. And then the third option is I do not want to assign a promotion at all. Okay. So typically this would be used for updating leads that are already in the database or something like that. Somebody else that you might not want to link to a promotion or source. Okay. Our next column is now going to ask me what happens if there are duplications already existing. So if it finds somebody else in the leads database, now it only searches because I'm doing leads for matches that already exist in our leads table. If they exist in an account table, you would have to promote them and merge the 2 of those together. So I have 3 options of what to do. I can update the existing record that already exists within Driven with my new information. Or I can merge simply any of the missing fields containing. So in other words, my original record would stay as it is if there's an address in there already. But if there was no email address, it would add the email address. So this would not override the existing file. It would only update. Okay. And then the third is skip the record altogether. Okay. So I'll say that I want to update it because this is a new file, might have a more current address. I want it to override with this file. And I choose the import. So this is the final stage of the wizard. Up until now, nothing has happened. When I click this import data button, it is actually going to go through and bring all of those entries into Driven here. Right? And it tells me what it did. So it says, okay, I created these 4 particular individuals. So I got Jason Fred Johnson, okay, and his classification was set to general. His role was set to decision maker. He got a market setting, and his territory was set to the Northeast. Okay. So all of my records have now been imported. And if I go back into Driven and I go, let's add a workspace for leads. I don't have any workspaces created here. Just leads. We'll do those. We'll look at all my leads. CRM contacts. Let's look at sales leads non-qualified. And everybody will be listed in here now. So Fred was one of my new people. Or I guess Fred was his last name. There he is. Fred Johnson from the Jones Corporation. When I find Fred, I see him here. I see all of his detail, all of his information. Here are the fields that were updated in that status note or remark field. And then the notes field came into here. Right? He got linked to the Tampa Trade Show automatically. All of his information got put into here. Now they come in as unassigned leads. So you'd manage them as leads from there moving forward. You dispatch them off to a rep or tell the reps to go in there and look at their markets and pick up leads, do things like that. Okay? So all of that information got put into here via that data import. And you can do as many data imports as you would like. Follow that format of the leads formatting. As I mentioned, you are capable as well of importing directly into the account and contact area. And there's a slightly different format for that. So if I go Data Import Wizard and I do my customer prospect vendor listing, when I open that Excel spreadsheet, get a very similar screen in the formatting. A lot of information in there. So either option is available to you, to import it as a lead or to import it directly as a account contact area. And then as well, there's an advanced import for the items list or inventory. So that is our data import feature. Now, let's talk a little bit about using custom fields in quotes and sales orders to be able to fit your business process. So I'm going to create another workspace here for quotes and orders. Okay, we'll make it a two-panel workspace. Go into here. We'll do proposals and sales quotes. We'll do proposals. I want to do all active proposals. And then we'll do orders down at the bottom. Okay. So within Driven, you have a lot of detail, a lot of information when you're creating proposals and quotes. I've got a proposal out here to Jen Sherwood is the sales rep on. A lot of detail or header information, as I call it, up at the top here. So I can pick an ordering phase, who the rep is, when it becomes an order, I can specify a ship date, what marketing campaign it's linked to, what, if any, sales pipeline for this customer it is linked to, and a custom status and a description. There's also an area in the center here for you to keep status notes and add more status notes. So I noticed that here on July the 7th, Barb Fiddler added a note that said, please get payment prior to converting it to a sales order. So that's kind of a note-taking area or field within the sales order screen. If there is some additional information that you need to track about this particular order, though, I need to be able to get the customer's server information because I'm quoting them an upgrade to their server or something like that. So I need the IP address of the server or domain name or something like that along with this. It's something that I need to get pretty much on every order that I'm going to be doing or the majority of the orders that I'm going to be quoting. Okay, I would want to add that into Driven as a custom field. Now, in my Driven here right now, I do not have any custom fields existing for the sales order screen. So as part of that setup, let me close out of here for you. I would need to come into my, we'll close this order, wanted to show you the screen of what's already available to you. So that further need where I needed to define that server's domain and IP address would be done under my system configuration as custom field in my sales order custom fields area. So I would add the field name and then pick a type for it. So I would want to say server domain name. Okay. Its type is going to be a text field. And then I would want to put in the IP address. And that is also going to be a text field. All right. So you can add up to 20 custom fields available in the sales order area. once I've created those custom fields and saved those, now every time I come into an order or a proposal within Driven, so I've got here my Jen Sherwood order again. Now I'm going to update it, and I can go back to the custom fields area and say that, okay, their domain name is www.domaingen.com. Okay, and the IP address is 215.354.216.54. And I save that. Now, that custom information is specifically linked to this order or this proposal, and it's going to follow it through all of the different screens. Anytime I want to see that information, I come back to the custom field screen here, and what I had filled in and saved is retained here specifically for this order for this customer. And it can be updated and changed at any time. So those custom fields stay with that particular order. All right, we'll close that out. So that gives you some flexibility in your quoting screens of additional pieces of information that you can keep about a proposal. Okay. Totally customizable by you, up to you guys and what you want to use them for and have them do. Now, I'd like to spend the rest of our time here in Driven today talking about discounting and controlling pricing from a management perspective within Driven. Because depending upon the role that is assigned to an individual, when we talked about company setup, we talked about setting up employees and giving them roles. So if I go back here to, my employee setup, not my email template screen, when I look at an individual employee, depending upon what roles I have assigned to them, for instance, Jen Sherwood has the ability to have a sales role. So she can do sales functions. She can create new quotes. She can update them. She can promote them to sales orders. However, she cannot, because she does not have manager access, she cannot override the retail price of the item on that quote. She has the ability to discount the item, but she cannot modify the retail price. And that will be controlled by one of 3 different options in here, because the way to control a retail price of an item within Driven is the basic level is to control it on the item itself. Okay, so I have a part number in here for an interface kit. Okay, the base price of the interface kit or retail published price of this particular item is $50. Okay, which is probably not very accurate because my last cost on that was $125, so I'm selling this below retail cost. However, both of them are committed out on sales orders, so they've already been sold. Just wanted you guys to see that here. But the retail price of the item by default is what gets used every time this item is added to an order, provided that none of the other options have been set to discount it further. So discounting of this item can be controlled at the item level. Yes, this is normally $50 for most of my customers. However, I have some wholesale or distributor customers that I'm going to offer a discount on this item too. So instead of that price being $50, for those kinds of customers, I would enter a price level. So here you can see I've already set up a price level for this interface kit. It is set to work as a discount % off of the retail price. And right now, if I set a customer to price level 2, they automatically receive 5% off of the $50. If they're set to price level 3, they get 10% off. And price level 4 is set to 15%. Now, you can establish up to 20 price levels per item. Okay? But the price levels that you establish all work for this item in one of 4 ways. If you choose the first option, fixed amount, then that means this is the new retail price of the item. So I would establish that this item is $45.99 or whatever I want to put it at. The same way with each of the 20 different price levels. So you have the ability to do fixed amount, which is new retail price, discount percent off of current retail price, whatever it's established at, which means all I have to do is change the retail price, and all of my price levels update themselves automatically then. And the other two options are to be able to mark up this item based upon either the last cost of the item or the average cost. Okay, Mr. Wholesaler, you can have it at 10% above my last cost anytime you buy it. Okay, so different options for you in the price level settings of the item. So this is a two-step process. First, you establish the price levels on the items, and then you assign a price level to a customer account. So here, let's go back now and add my contacts, because I want to just see one of my customer accounts here. CRM contacts and leads. We'll go to my CRM contacts. So that particular Fiddler Consulting Company, okay, or let's stick with Disney World. Let's stick with Mickey Mouse here. We'll pick on him today. So Mickey Mouse from Disney World is one of my wholesale accounts. Okay, so I would want to update him to use a specific price level. And that's done under his Update Account Information screen right here. Towards the bottom of that, I would be able to establish his price level. So once my screen comes up here, I can update his address, all that other kind of information. All that's done under this Edit screen. But down at the bottom is the financial settings. And I see that right now, Mickey Mouse is set to price level 3. So right now, anytime Mickey were to buy one of these interface kits, he would get 10% off of my retail price automatically. So that modifies his price for the item anytime he purchases it. And it modifies it for anybody who tries to add it for him. So that is automatic and done without any user intervention required. Okay, based upon me establishing a price level for this particular customer. Next option for you to be able to control some discounting here is to, instead of using a price level, which has to be established for each individual item within the database, as I mentioned, I might want to establish an overall discount for this customer. So, okay, Mickey, you get 10% off of anything you buy from me. I'm going to take 10% off the top anytime you buy something off my retail prices. I would put that in here as a global discount percent. So I would establish that here as 10% off. And let's save that. And I'm actually now going to place an order to Mickey Mouse so you see what happens here. So let's go in and put in a new proposal for Mickey. Okay. Start that out to him. And we'll start it as a test discounting. Save and create. Now, Mickey right now, anytime I go to add items in here, so if I go to add an interface kit, there we go. I can establish it right now because this quick screen gives me the ability to say, okay, the standard price, retail price is $50. His customer discount is 10% off. Or his customer price level, because I had both set on him, remember I saved it with both, is level 3, which is 10% off. Now, there is an established quantity break as well on this particular part, which apparently I didn't fully set up properly, because if you buy 5 of them, you get them for 0, or if you buy 10, you get them for 0 as well. So this option here, this quick add screen, shows me all of my different options, and I can say, okay, give it to me at the customer discounted price, and I add it. Okay. When you're in our full research screen, which gives you more detail, more options for searching and things like that, if I search again for my interface kit, okay, I'm going to see there it is at a base price of $50. What happens now is when I click on it once, yes, the base price was $50, but this customer's established price is $45. And you see by default, this option is grayed out because it is locked, established as the retail price of the item. Now, being an administrator level, my login has administrator access. I can manually go in here and override and change the price. If I do not have manager or administrator role set to my level, I can't change that option. So this would be locked here. Okay. I could, however, offer a discount to that customer. Okay. And when scrolling down here, so the retail price gets adjusted automatically by default. If there are any further discounts available, and this is a bad example because it's a group item in here, but those would also show over on the right-hand side. So, for instance, if I have volume discounts and things like that, I think my keyboard might have. Now, no other further discounts are available on this item. So this is where you see discounts through the inventory research screen. Okay. Now, the last option for you for potential discounting and price changes is to use a marketing campaign. Okay. And that is used, here, let me save this here, when you want to offer some promotional pricing based upon a customer purchasing for that particular campaign. I have a 10% off for the month special. Okay. So that, again, let's create a marketing campaign workspace so we can look up those. We'll configure those panels there. Go to marketing campaigns and see all active marketing campaigns. Now, when I look at marketing campaigns within Driven, let's go look at my visible columns here and see if it is used for discounting and how much revenue I've generated and when it expires. Okay, and the start date too. So I have a couple of promotions in here that do discount. So my use for discounting, one of them is done by a category, and that one is called, oh, it might help if I put my campaign names on here, huh? Put a description on here so I see what the name of the campaign is. Here we go. So I have a 10% off promo for Jan. Okay, that one is valid from January 1st through July 28th. So after July 28th, if I link this particular marketing campaign to an order, it will no longer automatically discount because the campaign discount has expired. Now, the campaign could still be linked to that particular order for revenue tracking purposes because I want to see how much revenue I've generated as a result of that, but it would no longer discount the items that are included on that order. Okay. The other one that I have that's used for discounting is a free keyboard in January. Okay. That one is only available for the month of January. So let's see a little bit of detail about how those two items are worked. The by category one, if I modify that one, down towards the bottom portion of that one, I tell that it is used for promotional pricing and discounts. I tell it that I want to apply a discount percentage. So your two options were the discount by category, and you choose what percent they get off of what categories. When you set up items within Driven, you put them into categories. So maybe you get 10% off everything in fabrics and general product. Okay. So you can have multiple categories being discounted, but it takes 10% off whatever the retail price of that established item was. The other option for you is the other one that we did, which is to be able to go in and specifically price individual items. When you purchase the keyboard, you get it at $3.50. When you purchase a mouse, you get it at $7.50. Okay? No matter what the retail price was, I can establish a new price here. So that's your other option for you when doing discounts. So first you establish the discounts within the marketing campaign, and you save those. Now, if I go back to my quotes and sales orders, and I go into my proposals here, here's the new one that I just did for the test discounting. I need to link that particular marketing campaign to this order. So my 10% promo for January, if I link that to here, what's going to happen now is when I go into my inventory research screen, and I want to do this one specifically because I want to be able to look by the category here. So I've got a general product item. That's a bad example because it doesn't have a retail price on it. But let's go look and see. I have another general product item here. Sorry, the webinar mentioned that I was having trouble with the audio. Not sure where you guys lost me, but we were talking about this promotion or discount campaign being linked to a product category. So my primary category here, you'll notice I have another general product item for my custom build item that is set at $500. And right now, I can see that my price based upon this item now is going to be $364.50 because I have that discount applying to it. So now let me search and see some other items that might be my general product category here. So I have a few of them. I have my other interface kit, which is now going to be $34.42. I have my black fabric. Okay. That item, a note on it tells me that it's out of stock until March 1st, and I see here my discounts that are available. I have some quantity breaker volume discounts, and then it's also linked to the 10% off promo for the month of January. So those discounts, as I mentioned, modify the price of the item as it gets added to the order, and that happens automatically within Driven based on them simply linking that marketing campaign to that order, provided that the marketing campaign is not expired yet. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, anyone who simply has a sales role on their employee access within Driven has the ability to add items here. They are the ones who cannot change, modify, or override the pricing of things. However, if they were to need a manager's approval to override pricing, okay, they would be able to then say, hey, can you go into order number whatever, and change the price for me? Okay. Someone with a higher level access, someone who has manager role or administrative roles set on their login, would be able to come in and say, I want to manually price this now at $35.99. I, as a manager, can come in and do that and approve it and save it. Okay. And now that new price is set at $35.99. All right. So you do have some flexibility as far as having your lower level salespeople enter the proposal with all the items on it, and then if some discounting needs to happen, they could then ask you, can you update proposal number 200,017, change the price override for me? As a matter of fact, they could email you a copy of it and ask you to do that. Okay, so I would be able to say, you know, to my manager, so I'd be able to, when I click that email button, go into the, click on, it defaults to going to the customer, but I don't want to send this to the customer. I click on my three little dots here, send it to my manager here, okay, so I'll send it to my, I'll say I'm my own manager. So I double click on my name, selection complete, email's going to go to me, and I would say, can you change pricing? Okay. So you have that flexibility to still maintain that control and be able to have that happen. Okay. And then they can add a status note here of saying requested price override. And I would then know, everybody would be able to see that on July 13th, Barb requested a price override. A lot of flexibility for you there and allowing your people to enter information but still have control over pricing within the database. Any questions regarding any of the information that we've covered so far today? Okay. Let me do one last thing in our sales pipeline feature here because we didn't link any of these pipelines to quotes yet. I can't remember who we entered these for here. Oh, we have one for Disney World here. Okay, so good. So let me go back to that particular proposal here. So in my Disney World one, I would have the ability to, let me see, link this to an existing pipeline entry for the server, save that, and then when I come back to my pipeline screen here, I'm now going to be able to see if I have my visible column set to quoted. Now I'm going to be able to see that $170.32 has been quoted linked to this pipeline. So even though I think I'm going to close it for $20,000, I've only quoted $170 to that customer right now. And that was one thing we didn't do when we started with the pipeline there, since we started with that at the beginning. Any questions so far about the advanced sales management features that we've presented so far? I'll give you guys a couple minutes to see if you have any questions. If you type them over to that question panel there, I'll answer as many of them as I can. Okay, everybody, looks like there's no questions for today's session so far, so I'm going to go ahead and end the presentation. We do, as you noticed, offer this on a regular basis, so if you'd like to attend again, please feel more than welcome to. You can view our training calendar anytime online, and also if you have any questions in addition about any of the features that were covered, you can use our Answer Express or customer care portals to be able to get those questions answered. Thanks and have a great afternoon.